Hey, how's it going? My name is Paul Shim and I'm a photographer and videographer here in Connecticut. I don't know about you, but there have been plenty of times where it's snowing outside. I grab my gear really quickly and try to get a picture. I go back inside and it doesn't look that cool. So today I'm going to show you a really easy Photoshop technique to get a little bit more epic snowy pictures. So the gear that you're going to need is a tripod, a camera, and a lens. Really any camera and lens will work. Today what I'm using is a Sony a7 III with the Zeiss 55 1.8, but again, any camera, any lens, any focal length will do just the trick. So the beer that I'm using today is the Winter Sour Ale from Brasserie Trois Dames, and I have no idea if I'm saying that right. This is a sour ale brewed with ginger and oranges, and it makes for a really interesting flavor profile, and I thought the theme of sledding in the winter would go really well in the snow. So I'm just setting up my shot here outside, and I'll talk more about the composition in a second. I'm going to be taking about 10 shots with a couple of seconds in between each shots. We probably won't be using them all, but it's just good to have some backups. For my settings, the aperture is at 3.5. The ISO is at 100 and the shutter speed is 1/200th of a second. I wanted it to be a little bit slower so that I could have the motion blur of the snow also in the picture. Okay, so we're back inside. I took all my pictures. I imported them into Lightroom, and what I'm gonna do is just edit the first picture, select the first picture that I took and edit that. And you could really edit this in any way that you want according to your style. So I'm just gonna select the first photo and start editing. But really, you could edit this photo and take it in any direction that you want to take it. So here's our before and after. Not a lot of things done, just some minor tweaks. And what I'm going to do is select all of these. Now I actually have 15 photos here, so I have 5 just for backup. We probably will not end up using all 15 of these photos, but again, it's just good to have some backup here. So I have all of them selected. I'm going to go over here and just make sure the first one is selected. Again, hit D on my keyboard to go into the develop panel, and then I'm going to go to the bottom and click sync. And I'm going to make sure all of these are checked and then click synchronize. And what this is going to do is Lightroom is going to take all the adjustments I just did on that first photo and bring it into all those other 15 pictures. From here, let's deselect all of them, and I'm just going to choose, let's say, the first 5 and see how that turns out. And what we're going to do is bring these 5 pictures into Photoshop, and we'll do a couple of adjustments there and we'll be done in a couple of seconds. So let me right click, click edit in, and you could choose edit in Photoshop, but what that's going to do is that's going to create 5 different Photoshop files. I could, yes, copy them and drag them all into one project, but I'm just going to click open as layers in Photoshop, and what that's going to do is Photoshop will automatically make each picture its own layer, and it just removes an extra step that I don't need to worry about. So I have all 5 of my layers here in Photoshop. I'm going to select the first one, hold down Shift and select the last one, and then I'm going to go up to the Edit menu and choose Auto Align Layers. Now I know that we were on a tripod for this, and this step may not be totally necessary, but sometimes the tripod can move and shift around, so this will ensure that the layers are aligned if it did move at all. So I'm going to go ahead and click OK. So now that my layers are aligned, you can see that on the edges, these little transparent ants means that it was not perfectly aligned, so I'm glad I did that Auto Align Layers. Now with my layer still selected, I'm going to go up to the Edit menu and click Auto Blend Layers. I'm going to keep this on the default settings and just click OK. And what you should end up with is a picture that looks much more snowy. And what happened was Photoshop took all 5 of these layers and blended them into one. So from here, all you need to do is save. I'm going to hit Command S on my Mac. It's going to save this and then automatically put this back into Lightroom. So if I head back to Lightroom, here is the picture from Photoshop. I'm just going to crop in on this a little bit because if you remember, our edges were not perfectly aligned, and I want to make sure that that is cropped out. So just a little bit on all 4 of the sides. And if I needed to make any more adjustments here, I could go back into the Develop module and fine tune these a little bit, but I'm just going to keep it the way it is. So here's the picture straight out of the camera. And here's the after with our Lightroom edits and our Photoshop trick. Now going back to the composition, I wish that I had shifted or changed the background of this a little bit, because here on the left side, it is just the sky, or I guess just the cloud, so the snow does not really come through that portion. I did the same technique on a different photo where I did in fact change the composition of it a little bit. So here's that photo. This is a beer from Fox Farms in Connecticut called Allura. This is the before photo, before I did any editing in Lightroom and before I blended the layers together. And this is the after photo. So you can see that it really did make a big difference. The first photo did not look as snowy and it did not look like the snow was falling as much, but with the auto aligning layers and the auto blending layers, it does make a pretty big difference. I love how easy Photoshop makes this. It's really only a couple of clicks and you're done. And I really love how easily Lightroom and Photoshop talk to each other, communicate with each other, because it makes working on photos like this such a breeze. If you try this out, I'd love to see it. Tag me on Instagram @beerswithshim, and I'd love to see what you come up with. If you want to see more tutorials like this, hit subscribe. I have another one coming up about a funny lighting situation that I was in the other day. If you like this video, hit like, and if you have any questions, comment below and I will answer every single comment. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.